With information pertaining to the latest Resident Evil appearing all over the place, there's a whole lot more to think about. We've met some of the major players, seen a whole lot of the locations we'll be visiting, and sneaked a few peeks at allies and enemies alike. Despite all this, there are still plenty of unanswered questions about the plot and the significance of the characters we've been introduced to. Thankfully, the internet is a wild world full of folks willing to churn the rumor mill, so let's get into it. The top 10 Resident Evil Village theories. Coming in at number 10, we've got the Umbrella Corp is still involved. This is pretty much a given at this point, considering how many times that logo has popped up in promotional material. Take a look at these 4 crests surrounding the iconic symbol right there. Could that mean that the corporation is at the center of it all? Or maybe it's just a coincidence? The Umbrella Corporation has always been a major factor in the Resident Evil universe. The question is, how much sway will it hold in this latest entry? Could it be a major driving force in the plot? Or will it be something to discover more of along the way, like something along the lines of Resident Evil 5? Only time will tell, of course, but there are plenty of ideas about how Umbrella might play into Village. One theory is that all of the different houses introduced will be connected to the corporation. Take down all 4 and then face off against Mother Miranda. Miranda seems to be the one with the closest potential ties to the shadowy organization. So after eliminating Dimitrescu, Moro, Hessenberg, and Beneviento, you might be able to discover some crazy secrets. Or maybe the blue umbrella makes an appearance, like in Resident Evil 7. Could they be the good guys? Or is it just a nice face to cover up the rest of the organization's shady dealings? Like I said before, there's no denying that Umbrella will be mentioned in the game, but it could be huge if it played a big role. Coming in at number 9, Hessenberg the Just. Now, in that last theory, we discussed having to defeat each of the 4 main houses to make it to the end. We've met Lady Dimitrescu and her vampiric daughters, Salvatore Moreau and his aquatic reservoir, Donna Beneviento and her terrifying puppet, and of course our boy Hessenberg. Now, taking a look at all these horrifying figures, you'd probably assume that they're all villains through and through, but Hessenberg has been revealed to be Dimitrescu's sibling, and they don't seem to get along too well, and he's got quite the array of interesting powers too. In one of the trailers, he can be seen talking to the protagonist in a pretty familiar way. Whether that's all antagonistic banter or actual attempts at connection, we've yet to see. But of all the lords serving Mother Miranda, he seems to be the most likely to be a little sympathetic, or at least helpful. So some people are claiming that the dark spectacled lycanthrope leader might at some point team up with the players to help them take down other lords. And if not all of them, at least his tyrannical sister. Wouldn't that be neat? Coming in at number 8, Tyrant Dimitrescu. Speaking of said sister, there is a theory that has been going around since early trailers were released. Folks love the latest large and in-charge villain, Lady Dimitrescu. She's actually become a bit of a meme in her own right, with folks seeming to want to run into her arms more often than run away from her. A lot of this love comes from respect for her towering stature. She's absolutely enormous, having to duck under door frames to enter rooms and looming large over any point of view. So how did she get so big? Well, some folks posit that she is indeed a tyrant. Human bioweapons engineered by the Umbrella Corporation using the T-virus, or cloning. Enormous, intelligent, and chock full of deadly weaponry, these freaks of nature are well loved and feared by fans of Resident Evil. And if Dimitrescu is indeed a tyrant, that would all but confirm a theory we put forward a little earlier, now wouldn't it? In a recent interview with the game's art director Tomonori Takano, it was revealed that Lady Dimitrescu stands at 9 feet 6 inches tall. If that's the case, she even towers over some of the most iconic previous tyrants. That is, if she does end up being one. Coming in at number 7, look at the size of it. And no, we're not talking about Lady Dimitrescu, we're talking about the map. This could very well be the most expansive Resident Evil to date. The Collector's Edition map shows 12 named locations as of right now, meaning that we can probably expect to visit each one. Of course, there are the 4 Lords layers, surrounded by a few more colorfully named locales. The demo seems to only show us a very limited portion of the game, which could be very exciting depending on the percentage of places they're saving for the full game. Interestingly enough, a few theories claim that there could be an open world component to the game. In my opinion, I'm not so sure open world and survival horror are complementary, but hey, maybe it could work. What do you think? Are we getting the biggest map yet? Is open world a good idea for Resident Evil? Coming in at number 6, Ethan ain't it. Up until this point, it seemed like the protagonist from the previous Resident Evil game was making a big return. Ethan Winters, the hand-reattaching, mold-infected father of Rosemary. The poor guy has been through so much already, from his wife disappearing to having to fight off the Bakers, to being forced into quarantine by Blue Umbrella. He's seen it all. And to be honest, all this didn't do all that much to endear him to fans of the franchise. So even though he's been introduced as the potential protagonist, there's a theory that he's not going to last too long. At some point, they'll have him replaced by another character. Whether that means he dies or is incapacitated in some way, it's hard to say. But after seeing a line of text in an early trailer saying that his story's coming to a close, it's hard to imagine Mr. Winters making it all the way. Coming in at number 5, Chris could play a big role. Chris Redfield. As things are right now, we can be just about sure that Chris isn't the good guy he once was. He's been shaking things up plenty in the early trailers and has landed pretty solidly on the anti-hero side of things. Maybe even a little further towards the villain, but who knows? But what we do know is that he's going to play a major role. At least that's what seems to be the case. He's taken all sorts of drastic action, from seemingly kidnapping Ethan's baby, to posing dramatically with a half-wolf face in some promotional art. Lycans are a big deal in Resident Evil, and this render could imply that Chris is one, or could become one at some point. This could also have something to do with the fact that his actions are so out there. There's the connection to the Wolfhound Squad, as evidenced by a crest on a crashed van. This new rogue attitude will likely play a big part in Village, but we'll have to wait and see what exactly happens. Coming in at number 4, multiple campaigns. Speaking of Chris as a larger role, wouldn't it be cool if you got to play both as Ethan and Chris at some point? It's not uncommon for Resident Evil to present players with a couple of options when it comes to playable characters. If Ethan's story is coming to a close and Chris has all of this dark, brooding energy to deal with, wouldn't it make sense for both to be playable? Maybe the same story twice, each from their own viewpoints, or maybe a campaign that picks up where the other one ends. In Resident Evil 7, Chris was available as playable DLC, so that could be an option once again. Plus, it looks like there is a villager that might become playable at some point too. Plenty of hints have been dropped that players could take control of somebody named Emily, whether as part of the main game or as DLC. Regardless of who ends up as playable, there seems to be a lot of buzz surrounding a variety of playable characters. Keep an eye out for more hints supporting this one. Coming in at number 3, Wesker's back. Now, when you're thinking of iconic Resident Evil villains, what comes to mind? If you remove Tyrant, you're left with pretty much one option: Albert Wesker. No villain has come even close since his death in Resident Evil 5, and it could be time for him to make a return. Or at least something resembling him. There really is no coming back from a death like his. A rocket to the dome followed by a lava bath doesn't usually end up well for anyone involved. But cloning has been an idea Resident Evil has tabled before. And with the E-type virus, aka the mold, being around, it is possible that he's somehow been working in the background all this time. This one is totally out there, but there's just enough in terms of hints and small details to make it hard to totally discount. What do you think? Coming in at number 2, Return of the Bakers. At the end of Resident Evil 7, it was clear that a couple of the Bakers did indeed survive. Sure, a lot of them did die, and Joe Baker did end up killing his brother, Jack. And then there's Zoe, who ended up working alongside our heroic protagonists for a fair amount of the game. So with Ethan making his way to the village, it's not impossible that one of the remaining Bakers follows his tracks. These particular Bakers can probably be considered friendly at this point though. As far as we know, neither of them are infected by the mold either, which could mean that they're not going to be supernaturally good at fighting. And finally at number 1, Boss Baby. You heard me right. Thankfully, Alec Baldwin is not involved in this production. What I'm trying to say is Ethan Winters' baby, Rosemary, could end up being a boss. We already know that she's been taken by Chris Redfield and possibly given to Mother Miranda. This could mean many things, but one of the most likely ideas is that little baby Rose is infected. With parents infected by mold, she could very well develop into a powerful bioweapon. Who knows what a baby with latent powers could end up doing? So what do you think? Are these theories possible? Which is the most likely to be true? What Resident Evil Village theories do you subscribe to? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. And that's the time we have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And we've met. Coming in at number 10, Umbrella Corp. Umbrella Corp. I'm gonna be okay. Why am I so bad at speaking today? I don't know what's going on.